They say if you ever hear your name whispered when no one is around, do not answer. I used to laugh at stories like that until the night my phone vibrated at 3:17 a.m. There was no ringtone and no notification sound, just a heavy rhythmic vibration that felt like a heartbeat against my palm. When I picked it up, the screen showed a single new voicemail from a restricted number. At first, there was only the wet, thick sound of someone swallowing, then a slow, rhythmic wheezing, and then a whisper. My name. It was said perfectly, in exactly the way my mother used to say it before she died in that hospital bed, gasping for air. The voicemail ended, and the silence that followed felt like it was pressing against my eardrums. The next night, I told myself it was stress, but at 3:17 a.m., it happened again. This message was longer, the voice sounding like it was being forced through a throat filled with glass. You heard me, it rasped. I dropped the phone, but the speaker turned itself to maximum volume. You didn't answer, but you listened. Listening is an invitation. Then came the sound of footsteps, slow, dragging thuds, not from the hallway, but from inside the room. I checked my door. It was locked, but the handle was searingly hot, and the smell of ozone and rotting lilies began to fill the air. By the third night, I sat in the center of the room with a kitchen knife, and every light turned on. At 3:17 a.m., the vibration returned. You sit up before you listen, the voice whispered, and I realized with horror that the sound wasn't coming from the phone anymore. It was coming from the air inches behind my neck. You check the door second. You're doing it now. Suddenly, 3 wet, heavy thumps hit the inside of my closet door. The voice continued, a low, guttural vibration. You're holding your breath. I can see your heart jumping under your skin. Stop looking at the door. Look at the floor. There, leading from the closet to the tips of my toes, was a trail of black, oily footprints that were still steaming. I fled to a 24-hour diner, but at 3:17 a.m., every screen in the building, the registers, the TVs, the phones of other customers, turned to static. A photo pushed its way onto my screen, a high-definition shot of my own wide, terrified eyes, taken from the perspective of the empty air directly in front of my face. A new message played. You think light saves you, but I am the shadow the light creates. I'm in the static. I'm in your marrow. Go home. We want to be alone with you. I tried to hide in a hotel, but at 3:17 a.m., the walls began to groan. The wallpaper didn't just peel, it bled. Beneath the paper was a layer of raw, pulsing muscle. The first whisper was an invitation. A voice boomed, vibrating the very bones in my skull. The second was a warning. The third was an observation. This one is the harvest. The lights didn't just go out. They were swallowed by a darkness so thick I could feel it sliding into my mouth. I woke up, back in my own bed at 3:15 a.m., paralyzed. A crushing weight settled on my chest, pinning me to the mattress. At 3:17 a.m., my phone didn't vibrate. It bled a dark, viscous fluid from the charging port. Cold, slime-slicked fingers brushed against my cheek. Don't be afraid, the voice whispered, now a perfect, terrifying mimic of my own voice. I just needed a skin that fits. In the mirror, I watched my own reflection crawl out of the glass like a spider. It stood over me, its jaw unhinging, unnaturally wide, before it leaned down and inhaled my final scream. It tucked my phone into its pocket and smoothed my hair. Sleep now, it said, its eyes devoid of light. I'll take it from here. Walking out of that house was intoxicating. The air felt like a banquet. I checked the watch on my stolen wrist. 3:24 a.m. Behind me, the original was nothing but a hollow husk, a trapped soul screaming silently behind the silver backing of the bedroom mirror. I headed for his sister's house, my new muscles twitching with a hunger that food couldn't satisfy. I stood outside her door and recorded a voicemail. I didn't use words this time. I just recorded the sound of my teeth grinding together and the wet snap of a breaking bone. I sent it to her. Then I leaned my forehead against her door and whispered through the wood, "I'm home." I heard her footsteps approaching the peephole. I made sure to smile, not a human smile, but the kind that goes all the way back to the ears.